Look, Dad, there's the pirate ship.
And there's Pete, and don't worry, I'll save you, neighbor. Whoa! Oops, sorry, Pete. Hey, where'd you get that swell outfit?
Dad, that's not Mr. P, that's the Pirate King.
Uh-oh, the pirates must think Pete's their leader. They sure are gonna be sore when they find out he's a used car salesman.
We've gotta help them.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play, I almost said The Legend of Zelda. Majora's Mask has been over for a little bit. Welcome back to Let's Play Goof Troop. In the last part, we went through stages 3 and 4, and now we're in the final stage of the game, the pirate ship, which is probably far and away the longest stage in the game, despite not having the most rooms, if only because some of these rooms are lengthy in how you have to go about them. By and large, every mechanic the game has used up to this point will be in here, be it every enemy type of every variety of pirate that has a slightly different ability, every use of a sub-weapon we've had thus far, and even a lot of the same concepts from block puzzles we've already seen might be reused. With that said, I don't think it's the hardest level. Some of the puzzles can be a little weird, but I ultimately think Stage 4 is a harder level on the whole. What's a little unique for this stage is you can get pretty close to the boss fight from pretty early on, but you need the Master Key first, so this is probably one of the few levels where it actively feels like you're searching for that, rather than just searching for it along the way. Which is kind of cool on its own regard, but it definitely can still feel a little weird, especially in co-op, honestly. The stage feels like it's not as balanced for that as others are, but only because there's a couple more cases where there's just very small passageways. Those vile pirates have taken some of our people prisoner on their ship, man! If they try to go free, the pirates are gonna burn our village to the ground. Oh yeah, that sounds right for pirates. We'll take care of that. This room's a little interesting. We have to press this unique switch on the bottom left to cause a conveyor belt to continuously make barrels show up on screen and then use those as your ammo. Your first target here undoubtedly should be the green sword thrower, only because he's the only one of the pirates that can actively hit you from the opposite side of the screen. You could just ignore one or two of them and just try to make a gun for the switch, but that might not go the best for you depending on how the game feels like with its enemy movement. Because enemies in this do tend to sort of just wander until you're either within a certain range of them or perpendicular to them, in which case they will try to make just a beeline for you, or at least hit you with your attacks. Which is weird, but also just makes the enemies feel like they aren't as much of a threat as they could be, which is part of the reason why I say you can just avoid a lot of the enemies in the game, period. Barring rooms where you need to take them all out. This is a timed block puzzle. It's pretty straightforward. So I mentioned earlier you could just kind of head straight towards the boss, even if you can't get to the boss quite yet. It's if you head north from here, you'll be in a room that will be in down the line that gets you there. This room's kind of annoying though, because you need to use the bell to bait the pirates in the way of the cannons, and sometimes they just don't quite behave right, or they move too quickly and they just are hard to hit. It's kind of luck-based. In this room, though, you can just completely avoid things, but I don't, because I want that banana, I think. I actually forget if I go for it, because I recorded this footage like 2 weeks ago. So the pirate ship is technically divided into 3 floors. The start of the dungeon and the end of the dungeon are technically the top floor, where we're on the deck. But our main goal is to get to the deepest reaches of the second basement floor to find the Master Key. And to get to that, we need to come over here and throw these barrels at these enemies to take them out from a distance. If you run out of barrels there, you kind of just have to leave and hope you hit them the next time. You need to make sure you have a hook shot here, otherwise you're not going to be able to actively get further in the room. Thankfully, because of how this game's designed, there's seldom a hook shot like 2 or 3 rooms away from you, so you don't need to worry too much about it. This floor in and of itself, though, can be a little annoying because it's got a lot of back and forth. Because we need to get a key to get to where the Master Key is. But to get that key, we need to go through this set of rooms, head back towards where you just used the hook shot, grab something from over there, and then head back towards our actual destination. It just feels a little weird. The pirates say their long-lost leader Keelhaul Pete is back. He was once the scourge of the seven seas, until he got swallowed by a whale, that is. Progressing in this room requires throwing barrels at the switches, which is one of the few times they make you actually use other items besides your body to press switches down. Only other time I can think off the top of my head, I want to say was stage 2. And you want to be careful in any dark room in this particular stage because there's 1 to 2 enemies in most of them. And while you can have a candle at this point, I prefer to have the bell just to potentially go to enemies a direction I want them to in other rooms. So I tend to not use it and just take a dumb hit here and there. Pyrrhic victory, I guess, but kind of annoying all the same. And this is why I brought the bell, because I need to goad this enemy over here. And I guess you could theoretically just get within an aggression zone and hope he just aggroes onto you, but it's better just to do this. You might notice this entire room is just to get more hook shots, and you're gonna need most of them. Because there are a lot of hooks in this stage. I think this has the most hooks out of any stage in the game. Which, I mean, I guess it is probably like the most interesting use of a sub-weapon the game has, where you actively sacrifice it in order to progress. Kind of leads into something I'm kind of surprised about. A lot of the classic, well-received Disney licensed games from the era obviously have their DNA just scattered about a lot of the indie scene nowadays. For instance, DuckTales very famously had a lot of inspiration on certain abilities for Shovel Knight. But I can't really think of any game that took a lot of inspiration from Goof Troop. And I guess to an extent it's probably because there's just better ways games like this can be done, but I think there's a lot of potential for a more complex version of this particular gameplay, especially with co-op. Just kind of surprised about that. Mind you, I also could just be forgetting something or I haven't seen certain games, which with as many games as there are out there nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised about. I remember distinctly thinking as a kid I wanted to have every video game ever, but as I've grown older I realize, maybe not. There's probably too many games out there. Keelhaul Pete's forcing us to do his bidding, but there's something different about him. Maybe it was just the whale. In this room you can actively avoid getting the key for a second if you want to go grab that fruit and extra life, but I'm good. An imposter was pretending to be Keelhaul Pete. Now they're gonna make him walk the plank, and his cabin boy too. Man, you two do not talk to each other at all if you don't know each other's information like that, huh? I mean, I guess it's probably some sort of prison cell. So now we have the key, we want to head back to the room we threw the barrels at the switches, and head left because now we can open a door in that direction. Another thing I'm kind of surprised about is that I don't think this game was ever included in any re-release or collection of all the Disney games. Because like there's that Disney Afternoon collection that's I think like Darkwing Duck, I think DuckTales 1 and 2, Chippendale 1 for a fact, I forget if Chippendale 2 is in there, and I think the Tailspin game. I'm kind of surprised they didn't include any of the games on the Super Nintendo in that, but I guess those are all just the very famous NES games, and there weren't as many Disney Afternoon games on Super Nintendo, so maybe there's something with that, but I feel like if they were going to do that, they should have included all of the games that were based on Disney Afternoon properties. Like, even if there's some of the bad ones, like I think I remember messing around with, like, I want to say the Game Boy Gargoyles game at some point, I want to say, and I wasn't very impressed, but it's also been a hot minute. And in this dark treasure room is the key in the top left, and there's stairs in the bottom right, bottom left that take you to this room, with this platform that I cannot stand. I think it's random, but whenever you step on a platform, that platform moves one tile in the direction of the arrow listed on the tile you stepped on. Our goal is to get to the top right, obviously, and while there are several different setups, I swear which one it swaps to is completely random, so you just need to kind of like slowly coast your way over there, and it doesn't feel great. The pirates took the imposter to their ship. Better hurry if you want to catch them. They're about to weigh anchor. And now we're in this room. This room has holes that randomly swap, at least it seems like they randomly swap between like 2 or 3 different positions, and if you fall in them, you lose a life. It's just a bottomless pit. Notably, that is the room I was mentioning earlier, that if you headed north from the room with the 3 cannons you needed to use to take out the pirates, you would get led to there. So we just did one gigantic roundabout route to get here. Now the real Keelhaul Pete's returned. The whale went and spit him out! Those imposters are doomed for sure. Well, if this was any of the Mickey Mouse cartoons, we probably should just leave Pete to stew, but this is the Goofy stuff, so he's kind of a good guy half the time. So sure, we'll go help him out. Getting a little ahead of myself because I haven't tackled this series itself in the channel, but I also was always very surprised they never brought Max into Kingdom Hearts. Like, Goofy's all over the place, and they got a lot of other just, at times, obscure Disney stuff in there, like they brought back Runaway Brain, as much as I love that short for 3D, but no Max? Really? Maybe they're saving him for, like, the new arc or something, because we're still far out from Kingdom Hearts 4's release at this point, but I guess we'll find out. Probably won't be. I'm gonna make a pretty comfortable guess at that, but oh well. Make sure you have 2 hook shots coming to that room, otherwise you're not gonna clear it. And now it's time for the final block puzzle. And one that probably stumped me the most on a first playthrough. This is the one I was talking about last time when we got to the dark puzzle. That's like the hardest puzzle in the game, period. But it's one of those when you see the solution, it's just kind of a, oh, I'm a dumbass kind of moments. And after this, we get a pretty interesting room we're going to be in a moment to the left towards the boss fight. But I actually want to come down here and grab that extra continue and these hook shots, even though I don't think you can even really use them in the boss fight. I guess I just wanted to really get that number higher, even though I have not gotten a game over yet. Yeah, we're only like 3 rooms away from the end. If you've died a lot more than I have, coming down here for the continue is probably a smart move, but again, this game has its moments, but I'd say it's probably on the easier end of the Disney licensed games, because sometimes you got some of those that were cheaply heightened in difficulty to increase rentals and all that, like Lion King and Aladdin were pretty famous for. I think specifically Aladdin Genesis. And even then, I think it was specifically like the Cave of Wonders level was what people complained about with that one a lot. This one, much further down the scale difficulty-wise, I'd say this game is about as hard as DuckTales 1 at its medium difficulty, so to speak, when you're not quite near endgame, but you're still very comfortable. But yeah, this room. We actually have control of a cannon, and we need to hit the pirates with bombs. The cannon is pretty limited with how many directions it can shoot. It can only shoot, I think, straight up, diagonally, left, right. So if they're in certain positions, that's hard to hit, but don't worry too much. They die pretty quickly because of their movement speed.
Get ready for a one-way trip to Davy Jones' locker!
Keel Hall Pete is our final boss, and he's definitely the most complicated boss in the game because he got several attacks. His main one is doing a death tornado spin out of Crash Bandicoot around the room repeatedly, throwing bombs out in the process, and you need to use those to damage him. Sometimes he'll do a little hook attack where he'll just throw his hook hand at you, and you'll get latched onto it and dragged into him, and I think you can mash the button to escape if you're fast enough. And occasionally he'll jump up on either the top left or right of the screen, and when he's up there, he'll use his gun and shoot a little bit of a spread shot that goes in like the 5 main directions outside of him. It's easy to lose lives here only because he's got a lot more attacks than most bosses, but hard for this game is not saying a lot. Does got a lot of health, and something I'm not sure about is if you can damage him while he's spinning. I don't think you can, but I definitely have at least a memory of hitting him while he's spinning, and when he came out of the spin, he was doing his invincibility frame blinking, so maybe you can? Oh yeah, he can also summon extra pirates, not that that's a big deal. They're more there just to make things more complicated, because then you have to either use ammo against them, or your movement has to be a little more precise. Also, just to explain this part ahead of time, after the ending, there are 2 parts to the credits, an enemy roll call and the actual credits. The enemy roll call is like 3 minutes, and the main credits are 2. And while I have thoughts on this game, I don't have 5 minutes worth of thoughts on this game. So I'm just gonna let the enemy roll call play its music and be silent during that, and I'll come back with my real thoughts during the main credits roll. Just for the sake of not dragging on too long with the ending. Let's see. I think like 1 or 2 more shots and he's down. Some fights like this can be a little more hard on multiplayer, on top of the fact that your lives are more split between 2 players at that point to begin with. But given this game's target audience, it's not exactly arduous. And that's game. I haven't mentioned yet, but I do like the congratulations screen music. This is very catchy. Well, we got the bad guys, but I wonder where Pete and PJ are. Gosh, I sure hope this is the right pirate ship. I hope the pirates didn't make shark food out of them. Somebody get over here and help us! Hi, that sounded like Pete. Come on! Oh no, they're serving a Mr. P and PJ combo platter to that alligator! That's strange. It's not even dinner time yet. Help us! Give me a hand here, Maxie. Let's reel them in. Nothing like a relaxing day of fishing, eh, Max?
Right, Dad.
And that's Goof Troop. It's short, it's alright. I think there are much worse Disney licensed games, especially at the time, but there's also just a lot better ones, even from a console generation prior. The music's neat, the main concept is fun, I just don't think the game does enough with it to really keep the interest past like stage 2 consistently high. If you're gonna play this, I recommend playing it with a friend, if only because then you can do more goofy things along the way, pun intentional, and have more fun with it on the whole. if you want to play it, it's on the Super Nintendo, and that's it. It was never in any remake. It never got any remake, any port that I can think of, or anything. I don't even think there's any other Goof Troop games, period. Admittedly, it was kind of I guess a later Disney afternoon show, but it still feels a little weird. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this LP off here. At the end here, they also do give you a total on your in-game time. I don't really know why they tally up the time in the game, but it's nice to, I guess, see a total on it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great night. Take care, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then.